Hello, everyone. I'm Carlos Production, your favorite host. And I know what it looks like. I know what you're thinking. Yes, and this is a solo podcast. I'm actually testing out this new microphone, and it's a testing phase kind of a thing. So Jason's not really here for this podcast, and I did want to make it like a little relevant. And I just had that time to make a solo podcast, so now here I am. I'm looking at some notes right here that I wrote down, so I don't give you guys misinformation. And I'm actually in the editing room at the Mix Palace. This is where I do a lot of my editing. Where I record certain artists, and I'm just working out of the Mix Palace currently. So it turns out it did come true. I eventually now I'm working at the Mix Palace. I don't know if you remember from the last episode, I was like, yo, my goal is to be at the Mix Palace, work at the Mix Palace, and I'm getting there step by step. So now I'm here at the Mix Palace. I'm about to do a solo episode, and I thought I'd keep it interesting. So I'm gonna talk about something that is relevant and everybody's hyped up for. This episode is, if you saw the title, you know what it's about. It's about the World Cup in Qatar, and there's a lot of things going on. So I'm gonna break it down to make you guys understand what's really happening here. So, as you guys know, for all my soccer fanatics, the World Cup kickstarted, and there's a lot to say about it, basically. Qatar lost 2-0 to Ecuador, and that's gotta suck. I feel like if you were a citizen of Qatar and you saw your country spend all those billions of dollars, 220 billion to be exact, according to my Google search, just to see your home team lose, being the first game to Ecuador, it's gotta hurt your pride. Given how much money they spend, how long they had to prepare, and all the challenges that they have to overcome. So yeah, that's that. World Cup, Qatar is hosting it, $220 billion, and they lost it. They dropped the ball. A lot of the things that fanatics have been saying that's really sucked about Qatar, and it's really gotten a lot of criticism, a lot more criticism that I really thought it was possible. Qatar and their Muslim religion. Correct me if I'm wrong somewhere. I don't think their religion really allows beer, or maybe it's just a choice for the World Cup specifically. But they said, yeah, you guys can't drink. Obviously, it's their country, their rules. Fanatics who go over there, or soccer players that go over there, they have to respect the rules. It's their culture, and that's one of the things about hosting the World Cup and just being a part of like global events. When you go to somebody else's country, you can't expect to follow the same rules that apply to your home country. So Qatar said, yeah, we put all this money down to host the World Cup, and it's our rules, you're on our turf. And I could agree with that. I can't really honestly go to another country and expect to be treated the same way that I'm treated here over there, for the better or even for the worse. No beer definitely sucks though. I know Mexican people were like, yo, there's no soccer if there's no beer. Beer is part of the celebration. And you know what? They're right. They're right. Beer and alcoholic beverages is part of just watching the game and just enjoying it with your friends. It's just part of the culture of enjoying soccer. And obviously Qatar thinks it's different. Maybe over there they do it differently. Maybe when they're watching soccer over there with their friends, they're not drinking beer, and maybe it's even healthier. Who knows? I haven't done research, and I don't think there's actually research to prove that not drinking beer, watching a cup is makes it better. But that's Qatar hosted it, their money, their country, their rules. Now here's another complaint that I saw on TikTok and all platforms and social media is the trains are slow. And let me tell you, imagine coming to I live in Long Island. Imagine coming to JFK and you're trying to go to your home or to maybe watch a game, and you can't get there on time because the trains are just too slow. Maybe there's too many people going in the same direction, and maybe Qatar's infrastructure was just not ideal to handle so many people going to one place back and forth. And maybe like a lot of the fans didn't want to like dorm near the stadium. Maybe it's too expensive. But yeah, that sucks. Flying into Qatar from a whole different country, wearing your colors, and not even being able to make it to the game on time because the trains are really, really slow. So fanatics were really like, yo, bro, I spent all this bread to watch the World Cup. Something I'm really passionate about, trying to go see my team succeed, just trying to be part of this event. And I can't really get there on time because my trains are slow. So maybe Qatar, pick a couple, things from Japan and other countries that got fast moving trains. Definitely not the US, because our trains are not fast. But, I'll learn a thing or two. There might not be a next time, but if there is a next time, make sure your trains are moving fast so fanatics can go where they need to go and be there on time for, the event. And also Qatar, remember, Qatar is the smallest country to host the World Cup since it began. So it had to overcome a lot of challenges. And another thing is Qatar is it's really hot. They were not supposed to be playing the World Cup towards the end of the year because, we got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got New Year's. It's really towards the end of the years. I don't think a lot of players want to be playing, throughout these days because, they're rather spending with their family. Soccer is their life, but there's also family, and they weren't supposed to play it this specific time. The only reason they're playing it this time is because Qatar is so goddamn hot. You can't really play it some other day, and not to mention they're literally a desert. So Qatar had a lot of things to overcome. Even building the stadium in the middle of a desert was hard for them. Another challenge Qatar had to overcome was their air conditioning. Presumably, their air conditioner wasn't working prior to the day of the start of the event. So there was a lot of question, will there be AC, or will we suffocate in the middle of the desert watching this World Cup? So it looks like I haven't heard much about the AC, so I think they got it fixed, and there's no complaints about that. But that's something Qatar definitely had to overcome. The Japanese, always over exceeding what we think they can do. As the Japanese were leaving a game, they realized how dirty people were leaving the stadium, and that was probably the Mexicans. I won't hold you. It was Hispanic people. I'm sorry. I would like to apologize for our behavior. It's not instilled in our culture to be clean publicly. We're clean really clean at home. Saturdays, we listen to our music. We clean our home very nicely. But it's that instilled in our society to be clean towards the public, and that's something Bukele was actually changing in El Salvador. But that's in the whole world in itself. But the Japanese, they were like, yo, are y'all just gonna pretend you didn't leave a flag, chips, dirt all over the floor? A lot of Qatar fans, a lot of Japanese fans that were there, started cleaning the stadium. They didn't just clean their the designated area. They started cleaning other people's area, and that's it was definitely the Hispanics. I can see that it being them. There's no other person to blame. But they cleaned the area, and people in the comments were like, yo, clap it up for Japan. You stepped out and showed your values at the World Cup, and even it's the smallest thing. People were like, what? That's crazy. Why do we have all these other people cleaning our stuff? So it really shows it's really a mixing pot of cultures going to Qatar at this moment. So you really see what values you grew up with, and it just shows Japanese fans upheld their values of being clean, and and I have heard it from a lot of people. Japanese people are clean in public and at their homes, so it must be true, man. That's really not a bad stereotype to go along with. Yo, if someone says, yo, your culture is known for being clean, I'm like, yeah, we clean people. I'm proud of it. Good job, Japanese people. You stepped out and showed really what's really part of your culture. Another thing that's happened, the Iranian team, they stood in silence for their Pledge of Allegiance. Or their national anthem. Pledge of Allegiance is an American thing. National anthem, and it's to show their support of what's happening in Iran. As far as the protests, all the things, it's really a lot of messed up things going on in the country. So I think the players took their time to stand with them in silence and not really show their support towards the country, because maybe they don't really believe on what the country or the government is doing. And this was really a public demonstration to the world, yo, the government, we see you, we see what you're doing, and this is our way. We're literally on the stage of the world right now. The whole world is watching the World Cup. They're watching us, and we stand with the people, and yo, I'm proud of the team standing up for them. Will they face consequences is actually my question. When they go back to the country, will the country penalize the team for standing against the government? That's actually kind of scary to think about it. They could honestly face consequences going back. Another thing that I saw, there's a bounty out for anybody that hurts Messi. He's just he was a couple games away for going to the World Cup, and if anybody for some reason, even if it's a freak accident, you hurt Messi before he gets to the World Cup or participate in the World Cup, there's a bounty on your head, because these fanatics, they're like, yo, we about to make it to the World Cup, and for you to mess it up just because you're being dumb and messing up Messi's hand, no, we're not gonna let that happen. So I'm pretty sure anybody that was playing against Messi, they probably just let him, they weren't even trying to defend him, because there was a bounty on anybody that hurt Messi. And it's kind of crazy to really to really think about that. Definitely a lot of things are happening in the World Cup. I'm not a big follower, believe it or not, I'm not a big follower of soccer. I'm Hispanic, I'm Salvadorian, and I just grew up with soccer since I was little. And the fact that I had to every single summer just Sundays be at the park, enjoying my pupusas and like good eats. It's just like after like years of just doing soccer, like I grew tired of soccer. And getting into high school, I never really pursued it like everybody else. I did everything possible so I wouldn't be in soccer. So instead of taking soccer, I would take swimming, badminton, like even the wrestling, a lot of things, anything but soccer. I really wanted to learn other sports as well, and that's what really like drove me away from soccer. And obviously me being Hispanic, I have to like know soccer. So when my uncles are speaking about like, yo, did you watch the World Cup, like you see what's happening, I had to be somewhat educated to an extent. I can't just be sitting in the corner not participating, especially given that Thanksgiving is coming up. And there's obviously gonna be conversations about like, yo, what's happening, who's gonna win the World Cup. So a lot of things, just that I have to know about soccer, even though I don't really strictly follow it. And then there's people out there that don't care about the World Cup at all. Like a lot of friends of mine, they're like, yo, we don't watch soccer, we never played soccer. Our families, they're football fans, not like football, but football fans. And soccer doesn't really does it for us. Another thing that happened for the World Cup was Morgan Freeman did a speech, and it was really like, I saw it and I'm like, why is Morgan Freeman popping off? I saw like clips of it. I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, but I got the gist of it. It was about unity, and I think I know what he was trying to get to. Like, the World Cup is about unity. Like, how can all these countries come together to watch this one event? And one way of doing that is by accepting each other's differences. Like, the fact that the Japanese are really clean, you have to accept that fact. Or like, even though I hate it, Hispanic people, like, we probably made the mess. I said probably. I don't say we did it, but we probably did the mess. It's accepting who we are, each other's religions. And like a lot of the fans that went there, they didn't really like the experience. They didn't like the fact that they couldn't drink beer. They didn't like they had to follow certain rules. And like certain news media, for some reason, Qatar wasn't letting them film, even though they had clearly had cards that they could film. Some news outlets weren't allowed to film, and it really like triggers a thought in your head, like, what's up? Like, why are you not letting me film? I have a card that says I can. I'm in a public space. What's the issue? And maybe Qatar is up to something sketchy. I'm not saying they are, but when someone doesn't let you film them, when you're like on a reasonable space where you're allowed to film people, someone doesn't let you film you, maybe they're up to something. And it could really show, like, maybe Qatar is up to something behind the scenes of this World Cup. What if the World Cup is a distraction to something bigger they're doing? I'm not saying that like malicious or bad people, but it could be. It's a dangerous world out there. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've seen about the World Cup. A lot. And there's definitely a lot to come. Like, we haven't even gotten to the final, who's versing each other in the final round. But holy cow, a lot. I'm gonna just end it at that. This is gonna be a short podcast. You guys can listen in, take a mental break and digest what's happening. And let's remember, the World Cup is supposed to be about unity and accepting each other's differences. And definitely about soccer. Soccer is a uniting force, even though sometimes it can be dividing if you're going against opposite teams and there's hatred. But sports, all this type of events, it's supposed to be uniting the world, pieces by pieces, and just accepting each other's cultures is a really big thing in these events. So keep in mind, if you see something strange happening in the World Cup that like your culture doesn't necessarily like do, it doesn't mean it's strange. It just means you haven't been exposed to it, and like you have to be open-minded that other cultures think differently and act differently. I know Hispanic culture because I grew up with it. I know how certain countries act because, bro, like, I've been exposed to it like all my life. So little advice for you guys. Like I said, if you see anything strange that is like not normal to you, it might be like it's normal to them. So learn to accept those things. Like I say, like one way to move around this world is, don't be judgmental. Just don't. See what's happening. If no one's getting harmed physically, emotionally, or anything traumatic, then it's probably fine. Just go off your inner gut and what you think is good. But that has been it, guys. I'm Carlos Production. This has been another interviews podcast. This is a solo podcast, just me, myself, and I. And I'm actually amazed that I'm able to speak this whole time for like 15 minutes by myself and just have a certain topic. So I'll most likely be doing more solo podcasts in the near future about certain topics that I feel really interested towards. And I really thought the World Cup is really out there. People know about it. It's happening. So you guys, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of information about what's happening if you aren't like, the person following every step of the way. But yeah, thank you guys. I'm Carlos Production. This has been another episode of interviews. Remember, I'm bringing you here insight on the world. It's through interviews of certain professions. It's through topics that you generally might not know, or through stuff that's really important in the world. So that's what interviews is really about. If you're a creator, we love creators, we love photographers, videographers, artists, anything that's content creation related, we love them because we are creators ourselves. We're always making content. So if you're one of those person, or you know somebody that's a content creator, yo, drop their Instagram, drop their email, or like DM me, DM Jay Bustillo. He's always checking our DMs. And yo, you could hopefully be part of interviews. We just love interviewing people, and we encourage people to DM us. Like we're not here hating on anybody. We're just genuinely like interviewing people that we seem to think that are interesting and have something to say. And just motivating other people to do what you do, or inspiring them to do what you do. If you feel fulfillment in what you do, interviews is about a lot about those things. And if you're able to bring that to us, then we will more than gladly have you on our podcast. As you've seen before, we have so many different places we could do it, and we have so many different ideas that I've been thinking lately about doing. So yeah, that's it. I'm Carlos Production. This has been another episode of interviews. Till next time.